Hey, audit and fraud friends and family. Listen, lately I have become addicted to the body cam videos that you see on YouTube where they show cops in their body cameras, but also the murder mysteries that you see on YouTube. And so I saw this weird one recently. Two thieves, they break into a home. They were caught. But them breaking into a home and getting caught is not the interesting part. Because of what happened when they broke into the home, they were actually able to solve a previously unsolved murder. So the thieves that broke into the home were not the ones who committed the murder, but rather it was the homeowner. Now, isn't that crazy? But the question that I have for you all today is, have you ever been doing this one thing that seemed small, although breaking into a home is not small, right? And found this one big thing that you never expected to find, like solving an unsolved murder? Because, well, if you think that was crazy, wait until you hear today's story. Hang on tight. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com.
All right, so you heard my opening question. Have you ever been doing something and then all of a sudden that something ballooned into something big, unbeknownst to you, and it was a complete surprise? And you all know how we run this show. We're going to bring up today's co-host and we're going to ask them that very same question. And today we have a guest that you haven't seen on here before. So let's just start with Christine.
Hello.
Okay. So look,
You're
that look of surprise. What happened, Christine? That look of surprise. I surprised you for some reason today.
I forgot it was 2:00.
You're
Okay, so for
outnumbered
those of
today.
you who don't know, so look, for those of you who don't know, we sit backstage for a few minutes before we start, and Christine just popped in as I was actually doing the intro. So I was like, oh, maybe she's not coming today. And then pop, there she was. Okay. So today we have Christine, Stephanie, and Benita. And here's what I want to do. I want you guys to answer that question that I just asked. And as you're answering it, also introduce yourself so people know who you are. Have you ever been doing something that was just kind of, I don't know, just small, and then you found this huge thing as a result and it just became a complete surprise?
Benita's new, so she should go.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Never.
stop it.
Never.
Never
Like,
ever,
never,
Benita, not
never?
even once.
No. All the time. All the time. And sometimes it turns
Oh.
out to be, nothing. But sometimes you get a hold of something and wow. That's what they meant when like that saying, the can of worms.
Oh boy, yeah. All right, so Benita, why don't you tell the folks who you are, because you at least have one fan. Got to get Bob back on with us too. So Benita, tell the people who you are.
I'm Benita Lee. I'm a trade compliance specialist. So I get to follow like Truth Social and try to map the tweets or the posts against actual regs, and then try to keep businesses calm while they're trying to navigate like tariffs, duties. So I'm so honored to be amongst, the professionals in like adjacent fields here. This is really fun for me.
So now, here's what's funny. You guys are going to see why we have Bonita on today based on the story. And let's just say it's a combination of hair salon meets income taxes. Is that a good way to kind of tease it, right? You think so?
Yeah,
Okay. So
tease it.
Stephanie, the question I
That's
asked,
right.
the question, oh, you know what? No pun intended for me, but that really was tease it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, Stephanie, have you ever been exploring something seemingly small and it turned out to be something gigantic? And what
Uh,
was it? And by the way, tell people who you are too.
my name's Stephanie Baumert. I work in AML, enhanced due diligence investigations for a major credit union. But I think it's just like you know, like an iceberg. Every day, I'm doing investigations, kind of on potentially high risk persons or businesses, and sometimes, 80% of the time, what they're doing is not suspicious. I'd say 80%. Um, no big deal. But all of a sudden, you're like, oh, this is going to be an easy one, no problem. I'll knock this out, and then you're like, oh, it's like a spider web. I always say, like, I have to reel back my ADD brain on those days, because all of a sudden I'll feel like a little ant in an ant farm going down all the different tunnels going, "Ooh, where's that?" And you never know where things are going to lead.
Right. Now, last but not least, and Bob says, geez, Christine, pick on the newbie,
Well, I
right?
mean, when Benita was introducing herself, I was able to be like, oh, you smart. Like, you smart.
We're just pseudo smart. It's not what you know, it's who you know and what they know.
Right.
Well, okay, let's just be honest. Why do you think I have all of you on? It's about who you know, not what you know. I don't know much, so I bring on people who know a lot more than me. Okay, and I think this is probably Carol. I love rabbit holes, is what she says. You just wait until, oh God, you just wait until this one. This is just the most insane thing I've ever seen. Okay, so Christine, what's something that you've started off with and it seemingly was small and it just ballooned into something huge?
I can actually talk about this because there's a news story on it. Financial examiner for the state of Wisconsin just doing audits, and we found $1.7 million missing in cash out of the vault. All because of one of those rabbit holes. It was noticing how they were counting their cash, and it just didn't feel right. And they told us to go ahead and count the vault, and they were missing a lot of money.
Good
Mm,
go. Who's it evening?
wow.
So that was probably like the biggest one, but yeah.
Oh, wait. So you actually found who stole the money too, right? Not just you found it was missing, but you actually found who took it.
Yeah, I think she should be getting out of prison if she isn't out already. She only had to serve 4 years. But they were also only able to find like 800,000 specifically tied to her.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I think that you know. I, yeah, that's a good example of when you go down rabbit holes, you end up finding something
And they're
large.
short. I tell people, like, they're short rabbit holes. Like, this, it wasn't like this took us days to uncover. Like, we literally went to lunch, me and the examiner I was working with, Ashley, and we came back, and our examiner in charge was like, yeah, go ahead and count the vault. And we did. That was so weird. That was crazy
Wow.
because the NCUA was there. Yeah.
Okay. I think we can top that with today's story, though. Okay, so Thomas says happy Friday. He's working in a remote office and he was trying to log in and it wasn't working. We could hear him but not see him. Then we could see him but not hear him, and then he just disappeared altogether, like Harry Houdini, or that 1 point whatever $1 million that disappeared from your vault. so, so that's how quickly Thomas disappeared. Okay, so look. Okay, so listen. So Stephanie, Christine, we live in the U.S. Bonita lives in Canada. But either way, most of us get a lot of our goods from other countries because they just manufacture things cheaper. It's just kind of the way the world works, right? So one of my favorite places to shop used to be the dollar store because everything was $1, and then they jacked the prices up
To
And
a
it's
dollar
like
and 5
so,
it's
to a
well,
dollar
it's
and
one
50
it's
cent,
like
right?
120, 125, and then there's some stores that are like, oh, forget it. We're like a dollar-ish, $10.
Yeah,
Benita,
yeah.
do you guys have Dollar Trees?
We do. We have Dollarama
Ooh.
and Dollar Trees, I think. I can't remember because I used to live in the States, so I don't remember which dollar store is in which country. But I know for sure it's Dollarama.
That sounds more exciting than Dollar Tree.
Right? Although I like Dollar Tree. I like their glassware.
Yeah, there's
It kind
nothing.
of
There's
sounds like a
nothing a
party,
dollar
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So needless to say, we kind of depend on each other for global trade, right? We as the U.S. trade a few goods with Canada and vice versa. I think most of the world trades something with China because the cost is fairly inexpensive to trade almost anything. Um, Now, in trading goods with other nations, sometimes there's a tax, right? There's a tariff. And oftentimes there's a good purpose for those tariffs so that your home nation can make money. And sometimes they're done so that a foreign nation doesn't undercut all of the prices for mom and pop organizations in your home country, right? So you kind of want your mom and pop businesses to survive. You don't want all of your money, regardless of what country you live in, you don't want all of your money going to some other country. Fair to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to think about something with me. Think about what we just said about trading and taxes and tariffs. And now I'm going to jump subjects, but I'm going to bring it back. Stay with me because some people are going to think, why did he jump to this? But think about the last time you walked into a high-end salon. You see a stylist working, and Stephanie just told us that she went a little lighter. She has her Hawaii color because she's going to Hawaii, right? So you see the stylist working, you smell the scent of the hairspray, and then you see those little strips of silver foil. For those who get their hair colored, I don't get my hair colored, but they use silver foil to actually color your hair. And it seems like a real mundane object. But you never expect foil to be at the center of a criminal conspiracy. What about you guys? You ever thought that foil would be at the center of a criminal conspiracy?
It doesn't surprise me. I think anything. I
I
don't
mean,
trust anyone.
Okay.
You know that.
Okay, so it wouldn't surprise Stephanie, but it might surprise Bonita, Christine, and everybody else listening. Actually, it wouldn't surprise Bonita and Christine because they've already read the story too. But what if I told you that those little strips of silver were actually laundered across three continents just to evade the law? Would anybody be surprised by that? Bob, would you be surprised by that? Would you be surprised that foil?
I'm just thinking of the volume that would have to be pushed through just to make it worth it. I mean, how much is a box of foil, you guys? It can't be more than $10,
I have
$15.
no idea.
Like, I would think it can't be that much. And I'm guessing it's the foil for when, like, how Stephanie got her hair colored and stuff, right?
is because it's thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because it's thin.
I'm just sitting here thinking how many? Like, I want to know the volume.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering too. So, okay, so think about this though. In the world of global trade, identity is everything. So, Benita's going to talk to us a little bit more about that in a few minutes, because we have borders to protect, and that's how we tax things coming in and going out. So, we like to think about borders as like physical walls, right? But for a multi-billion-dollar shipping industry, sometimes the border is just a line on a piece of paper. And here's what I mean. If a product is born in one country, it might cost X number of dollars. If it's born in another country, it might cost a totally different dollar amount, depending on the destination country and how they tax the country of origin. Does that sound good so far, Benita?
Yeah, I think everybody would get that.
Okay. Where it gets tricky is if one country sends goods to another country and then there's some sort of switcheroo that happens to where they say the second country is the country of origin, and then they send it all the way to another country. Let me give you an example. So in today's case, foil that originated in China was sent to oh God, you gotta help me remember where it was sent to.
Myanmar.
Germany.
Myanmar, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
To Germany?
No, yeah, it's Germany. Sorry. It was imported.
Well, it was sent to Myanmar first. So it was sent from China to Myanmar. Now in Myanmar, they said, okay, we're going to just change that label from it originating in China and saying that it originated here in Myanmar. And then we're going to sell it to Germany. So when it got to Germany, it was taxed at the Myanmar rate instead of the China rate. Now I know what you're thinking. So what? It was still taxed. But those rates are different. And there's a reason behind those rates being different. How am I doing so far, Benita?
Yeah. You're talking about the controls now.
Yeah. Now, to really understand this concept, Europe has something that they call anti-dumping duties. And I know it sounds technical, but it's essentially just a trade wall. You see, China produces so much aluminum foil that they can sell for really, really cheap that it might run some of the local German businesses out of business. And so they put a tax on Chinese foil, sometimes double the price. So when these goods were shown as originating from Myanmar, again, they got the Myanmar tax instead of the China tax. What do you guys think about that? Is that fair? A tax is a tax. Why should we be concerned about that?
I think the US has it too, the anti-dumping, and I'm wondering if it has to do with
Huge.
because it's not, is it because it's not like recyclable? Is that what it is? Because it's such thin aluminum, or does that not have anything to do with it?
I think the US has them to save like the industries that are within the US that
Right.
produce like aluminum, steel, and
Right. Although
Yeah.
funny enough, Canada is the #1 place that the US gets their foil from. You probably already know.
I'd have to check the like US Census Bureau for those facts.
So Canada and China,
Yeah.
top importers of aluminum. We have our home.
Oh, you guys are being too nice.
To what?
You guys are being too nice. Think about this. Look, every country wants to protect its own country, right? So the reason that we have tariffs and taxes like that is so that we're not sending so much money overseas to a foreign country that may do God knows what with that money to attack us. Canada does it, the US does it, Germany does it, Every country does it, and that's the reason why we do it. We don't want to be undercut by some company, by another country, and have money flowing to that country because they may do things with it that's nefarious.
It's also that they these companies, these countries can do try to evade sanctions that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Every country does it. So,
It's
so
to essentially bring. So what I'm reading, because it specifically talked about like a Chinese aluminum manufacturer drops its export price to Germany below its own production cost to force German factories out of business. So it's essentially, you're right, to make sure that other countries can't undercut that competition.
there you go. Because think about it. If you force companies in multiple industries out of business in one country, that country now becomes dependent upon you. You can do a lot of things like raise prices and gouge them, or you know what their manufacturing you know what their manufacturing capabilities are. You can invade that country. There's so many nefarious things that you can do, right?
Why do I feel
So
like, does the US have that right now with corn?
we
They
have it
have
with a lot of
most
different
things.
goods at different times. Yeah. So
Almost a more
okay.
simplified explanation would be like Oregon doesn't have state sales tax. And there's a lot of people who used to try to go to places like Oregon and buy like a vehicle and to avoid sales tax. And so they avoid, they kind of stopped that because the states were losing out on it. So similar as far as, just a more simplified domestic version of
Yeah.
avoiding.
Sure, sure. Absolutely. That's a good domestic example. So let's talk about what they did and how they actually did it. So here's what they did. The scheme was orchestrated by a Chinese national company and a German director. And their plan was it was elegant as well as illegal. What they would do is they would ship massive amounts of aluminum foil from China to a shell company in Myanmar. And then here's where the swap occurred. So, under the rules, the current rules and regulations, if you change a product enough in the second country, you can say that it originated in that second country. That is actually legal. But what they did was they claimed that the foil was manufactured in Myanmar under those trade laws. But what they simply did was change a label. It was simply a box. I'm sorry, they moved it from one box to another. So that was really a bait and switch.
So did they actually
They
ship
called
it
it,
to Myanmar?
yeah, they actually shipped it to Myanmar
Okay.
and they essentially moved it from one box to another while in a shell factory in Myanmar, and they called it processing. And so when the regulators found out about it, they called that processing a joke because literally moved it from one box to another and changed the label. That's it.
Yeah, in some circumstances, if there's like substantial transformation of that good or product, you can claim that it's made in that second country, but that wasn't the case here.
But they assemble cars in Mexico, but they
Right.
still stamp them as US, right?
There you go. Right, right, right. Now, Bob, Bob is funny. Bob said Kramer thought he could make more money by sending aluminum cans to Michigan for recycling. You know, okay, in all seriousness, this was a thing at one point because some states pay big money for recycled aluminum cans and for recycled glass Coke bottles. And each state's payout rate is different. So while Kramer, is a good example of doing that on Seinfeld, I think it was one of those situations where art imitated life because one of the writers had to have seen this before.
It was a huge thing in California. Huge. They had massive, like, people like bringing semi trucks full of things to cash out in California. And California's like, nope.
Yeah. Okay. So now Thomas jokingly says no one wants to hear him anyway. Thomas, they want to hear you more than me. Trust me. Um, and Heather said something, but I forgot what context it was in. And Bob said it's been a while since he's been on. It sure has, my friend. That's why we got to get you back on. It's always a good time when Bob is on. So you guys don't know, Bob actually sends me quite a few stories, and I really appreciate it because I'm a slacker sometimes. I think the story we used last week was one that Bob sent. Okay, so now, as our trade compliance expert, Benita, talk to us a little more about this though, because why did they do this? Like, what happened?
Well, you're asking me to go into the mind of a fraudster. uh, and then my number one answer is always money.
Ah,
But like something interesting that we're not talking about is like, and Stephanie might think this was quite odd as well, like, because Myanmar is a sanctioned country to, like, I don't know the dates, but you can be on the sanctioned list one day and be off the sanctioned list the next day. So I haven't like
But they may
crossed.
not be sanctioned for Germany.
Right.
Oh, right.
okay, that's what I was about to ask. Okay, so sanctioned by who? Explain to our audience what you mean by it's a sanctioned country.
Well, every country has a list. And in the US, we call that like the consolidated list, right? I have to double check with Stephanie.
That is the
Um,
office of
Foreign asset controls.
thank you.
right.
Oh yeah.
Friday.
You're good.
So you can
You're
have
lost in our
sanctions.
acronyms.
You
Compliance
have
people in your
sanctioned
acronyms.
countries.
Mhm.
You have sanctioned countries, sanctioned individuals, sanctioned businesses. You can have all sorts of sanctions on just about anything.
Right. So yeah, you can save a lot of money if you are avoiding anti-dumping duties. So these are duties. Duties are what you pay when you import into a country.
Okay.
Except like, what's missing from the story is who caused the sale or the import. Like, because I don't know.
There were no real names about
Yeah,
businesses
this
or
one had.
individuals, but I think it's because of the privacy. Germany
Oh,
have
right, the
very
G.
strict, very strict privacy controls.
Huh.
So probably a lot easier to get in and out without hitting that list if Germany has one.
Yeah.
The
So
the
okay. So think about this though. They were taking the goods from China, bringing them to Myanmar. They were making it appear as though they were being manufactured in Myanmar. But there was something else interesting in here. And let me take a look again. So there was something else. When they started doing the investigation, they found that the suspects were submitting these mirrored invoices. So they would have one invoice for the actual price of the aluminum, and then a second one with for the customs office that undervalued the goods at a massive margin. So not only were they avoiding the China tax, they were
Ooh,
also undercutting the price of the goods as well.
that's money laundering.
Right.
You can launder money through under invoicing and over invoicing to move value.
Yeah,
And then duty is based on value. So,
there you
So I
go.
think even though they said the total evasion amount in these taxes was something about around 718,000 US, I think it's got to be far bigger than that.
That's
'Cause
what they found.
yeah, that's what they
right,
found.
exactly. That's what they wipe their nose with. I don't know.
I just can't get over how much aluminum hair foils that would be. Like, there's just got to be, like, I'm just sitting here thinking of a huge ship with all these cargo things, and all it's carrying is this foil.
Oh, and speaking of the foil, wait till we tell them how it was actually caught, but we're not going to get there yet. So Lisa says the gray list. Yeah, yeah. And then OFAC is what we were trying to think of. And then FATFO. What's FATFO? I can't remember what the acronym stands for now. I think it's foreign. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Because you all know, like I said, I have to have people around me that are a whole lot smarter than me all the time. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, though. Think about this. So the suspects, they were processing the discount aluminum in Germany, and they were selling it to a wholesaler in Germany who was in turn selling it to other German companies. So that means that legitimate and honest manufacturers were buying this material thinking that it was legal, all the while the Swiss and Chinese syndicate was using that extra $1.6 million to underbid every honest aluminum supplier in Europe. So if you think about it, they weren't just cheating the government. They were they were impacting these small businesses too, because if you look at the way they're taxed on their raw materials for whatever they produced, or if they were, wholesale to retail, their cost of goods was lower, which means their taxes were all off.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lisa. Financial Action Task Force.
It's never a victim.
I like our acronyms.
Yeah.
And I think this happens, way more than we know, and I'm sure Bonita knows with imports, exports. There's evasion going on. There's, whether there's evasion of payments like these taxes and fees, or whether they're, funding terrorism by laundering money. There's all sorts of things. It's a big shell game. So many layers of foil.
I love it.
Okay, so here's what's crazy. You want to hear something real funny? Now, I always try to come up with these little snarky titles for episodes and stuff like that. I almost titled this one The Hair Salon Heist.
How about You've Been Foiled?
Ooh, that's another good one. Yeah.
That's right.
I've got to run all my titles by Bonita now going forward, right? Okay.
I just came up with it.
Take commission, Bonita.
Wait a minute. I don't pay you guys anyway, so nothing from nothing is a pretty decent commission point, right?
It pays in gratitude, right? Payment.
Absolutely.
Gratitude.
I am very thankful.
Well, we're not talking about that under the table stuff.
Okay. So now, here's the funny part. I teased how they got caught. I'm going to try and, I have so many notes on this one. I'm going to try and do some of it from memory because I can't find a place in my notes where I notated it. But apparently when they started investigating in it, they saw that things were going awry. It kind of started spiraling when one of the investigators noticed a lot of foil for hair salons being imported into Germany. And so that was the kind of tipping point where they said, okay, wait, this doesn't make sense. And they started looking more and more into it, and everything just ballooned from there. I'm trying to find it in my notes because I had a few more details, but that's really how it got caught. Somebody looking at the enormous amount of foil that was being imported, and they thought that it was an odd amount, and they just started unraveling that string.
I want to know what's more than normal.
Right. Germans just like, they all want to be blonde all of a sudden. I don't know.
Ooh. Could that actually be it, though?
It's a fad.
Right?
Like fashion.
What's that supermodel? The German one.
Is it Heidi?
Heidi?
Bunche? Is she German? No, I don't think she's German.
Are you
I don't
talking
follow.
about
She's,
Heidi Klum?
Yeah, she's German, right?
I don't follow super
Oh,
well.
you know what? She might be.
Yeah, maybe it's a Heidi Klum fad.
Let's see. Yes, she is German.
I know my suspicious mind makes me think, were those containers filled with foil? Was it something else and they're just tagging it as foil? I mean, is it, you know, you see a lot of things moved around other places like that. It could be components to do bad things. You never know.
Okay, so Bob says Claudia Schiffer, Lord.
Oh, right, Schiffer. Yeah.
I'm just gonna be quiet today. I'm just so tongue tied. You know what's funny? I actually have a podcast interview to do right after the show today, and I'm just gonna be a complete wreck. So either it's gonna be the best thing ever because it's gonna be completely off the cuff, or it's gonna be a complete and total train wreck. Okay, I found it in my notes. So here we go. How did they get caught? And this is the part where it gets real odd. One of the defendants started selling the foil directly to German hairdressers through the Myanmar company. So remember, initially they were selling it to either suppliers or manufacturers, not directly to the end customers. And so because they were buying directly from Myanmar, the hairdressers themselves were the ones filling out the customs forms. So they had no idea that the foil was actually Chinese. So the German customs officials, they started seeing this explosion of hairdressing foil coming from Myanmar. And Myanmar is a country that's not exactly known for its high-tech aluminum industry. And so they started digging. That's when they realized that the factory in Myanmar didn't even have machinery. Get this, it didn't even have electricity to actually produce goods. So the logistics there were impossible. And so they drew the conclusion that this must have been a bait and switch where they were just taking it out of one box, putting it in another box, and then just slapping that label on it.
Those scam compounds, they got to put them to work doing something after they shut down KK Park.
I'm at a loss for words.
There's a name that came to mind when I saw that. I'm not saying it out loud.
I'll say it. All I thought about was Diddy. That's all.
Diddy did it.
That's right. Did he do it?
Did he do
Okay.
it? Oh, there you go.
Okay. So now let's talk about the takedown. On March 31st of this year, the regional court in Krefeld handed down the sentence. Here was the penalty. The lead defendant was convicted of commercial tax evasion and sentenced to 1 year and 8 months, and then a massive 100-pound fine. Now, the court didn't just stop at prison. They confiscated over 321 pounds in assets. Could you imagine 321 pounds worth of aluminum foil just being confiscated by the government?
I need a visual.
What was that? I think
Here's where it
321 pounds, I think they're referring to as, I think euros, which is about $380,000.
I'm sorry, it is euros. I said pounds. Anyway, it is euros, which is a totally different currency, right? Again, this is why I bring people on that are a lot smarter than me. I'm actually looking at the euro symbol too, and in my head, I'm thinking British pounds because I got something else on my mind. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting too, though. So Total damages 750,000 euros. And that breaks down to about 610,000 in the duties that Benito explained earlier, and 140,000 from customer declarations.
It seems like he just got a slap on the hand. He didn't even serve any prison time. It looked like it was suspended with 3 years probation.
Uh-huh. I was either gonna get there or hope that somebody else brought that up, because like you just said, that seemed like a slap on the wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
Especially
Benita, let me
what
ask.
Stephanie thinks. What if there weren't foils in there? What if there was just wads of cash?
Right.
Benita, let me ask. Based on your experience, does that seem like a slap on the wrist?
It does. I mean, I feel like you should lose your importing license and not be able to, you know? If this
So
happened in
that's
the
the thing.
US, it wouldn't be a slap on the wrist. It would be, I think the penalty would be a lot fiercer.
Probably millions, depending on the company size. I mean, this seems to me
Mm-hmm.
like nothing.
Ah. So wait, that's a thing though, Benita. You could lose your import license.
Yeah. Not be able to import or export ever again.
Oh wow.
Well, under that business number.
Until they open the next shelf.
Oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait. Okay. So you bring up an interesting point, right? Under that business number, so you could just get another business number, start another business, and do the same thing over again.
It's whack-a-mole.
And you don't think they do
Ah,
any type of research on that to see if any of the beneficial owners of that business violated anything like that? I mean,
Yeah. If they had a previous history, what commodity was it last time?
Similar news stories. It looks like investigations even in the US.
And it
involved
doesn't it look
basically.
like they can appeal as well? Like, what do you appeal?
I don't know what you would appeal.
they can appeal.
That's what it says. It does say that the judgment is subject to appeal.
Well, I guess so. You can appeal anything in U.S. court too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bob said that's like one pallet of foil that dollar out. Okay. Now look, let's go a little bit deeper too, because the defendants, they didn't just steal from the government; they put their own customers in the crosshairs. Here's what I mean: those local hairdressers were the ones technically importing the foil from Myanmar. So they were the ones who unknowingly signed the fraudulent government documents. And if you think about it, that means that there were quite a few small business owners that were technically committing customs fraud every time they ordered a shipment just for hair highlights.
But I guess, are they not being charged because through this whole entire thing they realized they were being lied to? It wasn't a malicious, it was a true error because of unknowns in what they were purchasing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't see anything saying they were being charged.
I can't see where they are being charged, but I thought, and so I'm going to say this and then I'm going to look for it in my notes because it may be off base here. But I thought I saw something that said that they were going to have to pay some of the taxes back because the goods were valued at a different rate. And so it was taxed at a different rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that, well, yeah, that wouldn't be at the hairdresser level, though, you would think, right?
I wouldn't think so, but who knows?
It'd be at,
Well, but they were the ones technically signing the customs forms and importing it at that point.
yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like in finance, on the sales form, the sales order, the two parties, in customs, it's the importer of record. So whoever acted as the importer of record on that transaction would be the one on the hook. So yeah,
Gotcha.
the story doesn't go down to that level.
Hmm.
And it looks like in the
Very-
EU and Germany, revocation is not automatic for import license, as there is no single import license. There's not a classic license in those countries. You just need to comply with customs. And it looks like there may be like a EORI or a customs registration number, but that's it. So the judge won't automatically revoke it. It's up to customs to do that.
Oh wow.
Now, there was a previous case we found where something similar happened in the U.S. Stephanie, what was that one?
There was one involving Korea and Thailand, also via China, and then another one most recently involving Vietnamese aluminum products of the same similar thing. Imported from
Yeah,
Vietnam
so
and Thailand. Those were like those party trays, those aluminum pans that you can get, the disposable ones. Similar things to
Yeah.
that.
I get the feeling we're going to see a lot more of these because of that. Like the China plus one, the US is cracking down on China for their cheaply manufactured goods. And then China is kind of like diverting their production to these other countries.
Or at least saying that.
But if you think about it, like, isn't everything made in China? Like, look at
Yeah.
my mouse. My mouse is made in China.
yeah, yeah.
Like everything, all your household goods are made in China. It's
My
like
Yeti cup, China.
your Yeti cup, China. Yeah,
Oh, is it?
My 3-hole punch, Vietnam.
yeah.
And so when we see things like this, though, it makes us wonder because somebody's benefiting. We obviously see the monetary benefit, right? But what I said earlier still holds true. You don't know what is happening to that money and what it's funding. I found when I was looking for, Stephanie sent it to me earlier. So in the National Archives, the Federal Register for the United States, in 2018, this happened. So apparently, there were imports of aluminum foil from China. And let's see, let me get this right. Basically, a similar scheme. So this happened before in 2018. And as Stephanie said, it was from routing through Korea and Thailand. But it was the same commodity, aluminum foil, being routed through Korea and Thailand. And I think the destination in this particular case was the U.S., and the U.S. handed out some sanctions at that point in time as well.
So I think that the fee that the U.S. charges, that anti-dumping duty, is something like 50% on aluminum for China.
Yeah, yep. That is exactly it. So I think today's case was very interesting because if you look at it, it involved manufacturing, tax evasion, money laundering, the total shipment of goods from one country to another country, the repackaging of those goods, sending those goods to a third country, all to conceal the country of origin. We had tax implications or tariff implications. Um, what else did I miss?
Well, the impact to their economic side from where they sold it to, what the impact it would have had on those businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of fraud here.
So how would you catch this though? Because we always talk about we speculate, right? How would certain things be caught? Because in this case, you had a really ambitious, and I mean that in a good way, investigator who saw a lot of aluminum coming from Myanmar and understood that Myanmar didn't have the infrastructure to ship a lot of aluminum, and also it was going to hair salons, and so that put that investigator down a rabbit hole, and that's how this whole thing exploded. So other than that, how in the world would anyone have found this?
It could be like, I'm just thinking like, it could be like a buyer, or like, I mean, if you own a hair salon, you're not gonna look at all your labels like we did now. But if you saw made in China, and then but your invoice claimed a different country, then if you looked into it, if you were auditing, if you're doing self audits of what you were importing, yeah, unfortunately, not very many small businesses like have resources to do self audits.
And I feel like too, there's a lot of, well, even within our own country, but a lot of countries where finding who that ultimate beneficial owner is of these
Mhm.
businesses is not easy to do. It's
Your vendor due diligence, is that what you're talking about, Stephanie?
yeah,
Yeah. No, I have align with both of you. I mean, audit if you had quality control checks. I mean, the only other thing I could sit here and think about is whoever is doing. So I'm thinking about like your shipping and receiving department would do a validation check against invoices and the materials. I mean, they should be counting the stuff anyways. Is that something else that could be added to their receiving checks?
I think so.
But I mean, I don't know. Would that flag anything? I mean, would that one employee understand that concept?
right. I think really
At
it
that
starts
level?
kind of at the tippy top of everything. You know, your whoever's investigating like the bill of lading on these shipments and looking at these invoices and being able to know if it's a false invoicing.
Ah, yeah, that's got to be a tough one. You you want to know what they started doing in order to try and catch this? Anybody want to know?
Quality
Yeah.
They go
control
get
checks?
their hair done.
So the U.S. government started using advanced technology where they would X-ray scan into the boxes to determine the molecular signature of the foil.
We're
Oh,
doing that, I think, in Seattle. I used to live in Washington State, and I remember when the ports were outfitting. I mean, it's a very small percentage, pin drop of containers that actually get scanned, but I remember
Mhm.
when they were putting those in.
do they do the same thing with the truck stops where it's like an x-ray and then your semi trucks kind of just go through and it scans what's in there and makes sure that it aligns with the manifesto or whatever?
Mhm. Yeah, there's been
Maybe international.
entire vehicles stuffed in like a dry hopper on the
Oh yeah.
rails.
Oh wow, really?
I always watch
Mhm.
those the border patrol shows, where they show all these hidden compartments and all sorts of things
Yeah.
in there. They're quite inventive
Very
and
interesting.
creative sometimes.
I'm just fascinated by the X-ray technology and how you can tell the country of origin based on an X-ray.
It gets even like more granular than that, where you know how the U.S. has like restrictions on imports from the Uyghur area in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the slave labor or forced labor.
Blood diamonds.
You can take cotton or any textile material and send it to the lab and figure out where that cotton from this T-shirt originated. Yeah.
Like the DNA of the.
Yeah, the DNA.
It's crazy.
Well, darn, I thought I was saying something groundbreaking. And when I said it, you guys had this lackluster look on your face. And then Bonita explained it like it's just a normal, everyday thing. And I was sitting here just wowed.
Oh, no. Like when I first found out, I was wowed. But it's true, like Stephanie said, a very small percentage of things are caught that way. Like I can't even imagine what is coming through.
Gotcha. Well, all right. Now, Bob says, yes, at weigh stations on occasion, the stuff is scanned and all that other good stuff. So, okay, that's all I've got for this week, unless we missed something else. You know what? Here's what's funny. I'm saving this, what I think was the best for last, and you all like, oh, yeah, no, that's normal. So, that's okay.
And Bonita
That's
probably
okay.
sees that every day. I can only imagine.
No, not at all. Like my job is nothing like what we see on TV. Like I don't sit at a border. My job's just like yours. It's just like I have a desk and a laptop.
Look at spreadsheets all day.
Yeah, spreadsheets all day long.
Well, hold on, though.
People on the internet.
If you've ever seen the movie The Accountant, apparently all you need to catch fraud is a computer and a laptop, and then somebody will magically hand you a gun and send you out in the field with a badge.
Yeah. I just told my fraud investigator he needs to watch that show with his son and tell him that's what he does for work every day.
There you go.
But, okay, what show is that?
The Accountant, the movie with Ben.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about The Accountant, the movie with Ben Affleck.
Okay. Accountant.
They got 1 and 2, right?
The Accountant. And The Accountant 2 came out, and that one's good too. I was thinking of The Beekeeper. Too. I told my fraud investigator to tell his kids he's the beekeeper.
Now, The Beekeeper was good too. That was a really good movie, but I mean, come on.
That first 15 minutes just hit you in the feels.
Yeah. Well, all right. So thank you everyone for joining us today on this episode. And we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.